In this module, we are going to be going over data cleaning within ChatGPT using the code interpreter feature. Now, I'm going to be using this as a personal example, and this is going to be my first time running through this, so I'm excited to see the results. What I'm going to do is I have backend analytics from my YouTube channel. I have the views, the revenue, the impressions, the click-through rate. I have all of this data, but I want ChatGPT to clean it up for me, format it a little differently, so I can get it ready to be used for more useful and important things within the future. I want to be able to compare this data a little bit better in order to create better content for my YouTube channel and find out what works the best, what generates the most revenue, what generates the most views, what's an average view duration I should be going for within my videos. So I'm going to be showing you how to clean data in ChatGPT using Code Interpreter with your Excel or Google Sheets, your CSVs, whatever it may be. So let's get into it. So this is the document that we're going to be dealing with. I have my video titles, my publish time, revenue, views, impressions, click-through rate, and view duration. Now, what can we do with this data? As of right now, it doesn't really seem like we can do anything. It looks like a bunch of numbers on the screen, and this isn't very valuable. I exported this from the back end of YouTube, but I don't really know what to do with it right now. The data looks kind of gross, so let's clean it up in ChatGPT. What I did was I hit File, and then I downloaded this as an Excel sheet to my desktop. I could also do comma-separated values as well, but let's first try the Excel file. And my desktop is quite messy right now, so I don't really want to show that. But what I did first was I made sure that I had Code Interpreter selected, so you can hover over GPT-4 and select Code Interpreter. Make sure there is a blue check mark, and you'll know you have it activated when you see this plus button in your input box to upload a file. So what you can do is you can hit Upload File, and then find the file in your folders or your desktop and upload it to ChatGPT. As you can see, I've uploaded my lifetime YouTube content, and now what I can do is give a request to ChatGPT. First, I'm just going to tell it to analyze this data. That way it can get a grasp on what it's analyzing, and it sets it up for making future edits or changes to this data. I always like to start off with saying analyze this data, just so ChatGPT can give you its opinion on what it sees. This will help you make requests, and it will help ChatGPT complete those requests. So I'm going to type in analyze this data from my YouTube channel. Okay, now I can send that off, and ChatGPT is going to load the data in from the Excel sheet and examine the contents. So this is great. It says this data set contains the following columns: content, video title, video publish time, estimated revenue, views, impressions, click-through rate, and average view duration. So it's analyzed all of the columns correctly. And then it says at the bottom, let's continue with the data exploration. We can analyze trends over time, identify the videos with the most views or revenue, examine the correlation between different metrics, and so on. So it's giving me all of these different ideas that I can type in order to analyze this data a little bit better. But right now, I'm just focused on cleaning this data and making the Google Sheet more attractive. So instead of taking and analyzing trends right now, I just want to clean up this data and make it look a little nicer. First, I'm going to send off the simple prompt of act as an Excel expert. Clean this data to make it easier to understand and read. Then when I send it off, ChatGPT Code Interpreter will do just that. It says, to clean the data and make this more readable, we can take the following steps. Remove the first row, which contains total views. We can calculate these totals later if needed. Convert the video publish time column to date time format to facilitate the time-based analysis. Convert average view duration from string format to seconds for easier analysis and comparison. Check for missing spelling, and set the content column as the index since it appears to be a unique identifier. So it's doing all this on its own. It knows the best way to clean the data. I've uploaded my Excel sheet, and it's making all of these requests without me even telling it to. So it's doing a wonderful job already. Let's see if it can convert. So as you can see, it's using Python in order to do this. So all of these changes have now been made, and now what it says is we have one missing value in video publish time and one in impressions click-through rate percentage. How would you like to handle these missing values? So it's asking me questions as it goes, and I can just be like a project manager and give ChatGPT the instructions. It says we could either remove these rows with the missing data or fill in the gaps with an appropriate value, such as the mean or median. what I can do is I can just say remove these rows. And we can just kind of go in this conversation style where I'm just giving ChatGPT the work and ChatGPT is doing the work. Now, one thing I did notice that it didn't change is the estimated revenue here is not in a currency format and the decimal places are very weird. So maybe what I can tell ChatGPT to do is to change that so it's in a currency format. So I'm asking it, can you change the estimated revenue column so it's in a currency format? And I can send that off. And this is why I love Code Interpreter, because I didn't ask the question in the correct way, but it provided me with the right way to ask the question and another option in order to complete what I want. So it says, Python doesn't have a built-in way to store data in a currency format. We can create a function that will format a number as currency in USD when it's displayed. Would you like to proceed in this way? I can just say, yes, do this for all of the content. And it's added a column for estimated revenue formatted. So now this looks much nicer for display purposes. I still have to use the actual estimated revenue column for calculation since it's the exact number. But if I want to display this in any way on my Excel sheet, we now have this nice formatted version. And now it says, is there anything else you'd like to do with this data? Well, now that I've cleaned the data, what I can actually do is start adding some properties or adding some columns to this data in order to make it more useful for future analytics, trends, and other tracking. So you can understand what's going through my mind. I would like to share with you my thought process when I'm going to be adding these new columns. So I want each one of these videos to be rated on a score of 1 to 10. And I want 5 scores for each one of these videos. I want a score for revenue, views, impressions, click-through rate, and average view duration. So there's going to be an additional 5 columns giving these videos a score from 1 to 10 on each one of those categories. So now I have to tell ChatGPT my request, and I want it to actually add columns so I can use this for radar charts in the future. So what I've done, and what you may need to do, is type out a very long and descriptive prompt to ChatGPT telling it exactly how you'd like your data to be manipulated. And what I've done is I've typed all of this out. That way ChatGPT can understand exactly what I want. So first I tell it, now that the data is cleaned, I would like to add columns. So it's important that you mention exactly what you're trying to do and the goal of what you're trying to accomplish as well, because in the future, if something doesn't work out, ChatGPT might have a better option or idea for you. So when you list your goal and then you list how you want to complete your goal, ChatGPT might say, hey, there's a better way to do this. Would you like me to go through with your way or the new way? So listing out what you want is important. And I list out my goal on the bottom here, but let's get into reading what I would like ChatGPT to do. I tell ChatGPT I want these columns to be named like so: view score, impression score, CTR score, view duration score, and title length. So I'm adding 5 new columns here. And then I go into the scale on how I want these columns to be given a score. So I say for each one of these videos, I would like you to provide a score on a scale from 0 to 1.0. The scores of each video should be based on the averages of the metrics it's connected to. So that might seem a little bit confusing, and that's why I go more in depth. I give an example. I say, for example, for the view score, take the average of all of my views and then give each video a score based on how it compares to the average. And then I give the scoring scale. These scores can be any of the following: 0.0, 0.1, 0.2, and all the way up to 1.0. And if there's any differences in your data or any columns that you're adding or anything that you're adding that might be a little bit different than the previous edition, then you want to make that known to ChatGPT. So I do have a special column in here that might not make sense to add up the same way. So I tell ChatGPT the title length column is going to be a little different. I want you to add up all of the characters of each title, find the average character value of each title, and score it based on how long the title is on the same scoring scale. So if the title isn't very long, the score would be low. If the title is long, then the score would be high. And then I give ChatGPT my overall goal. This is very important because, like I said earlier, things might need to be changed with the way I'm doing it, and ChatGPT does a very good job at explaining that to you if you clearly list out your goal or your mission, just like we've learned in other modules. So I say, the goal of adding these columns with scores for all of the videos is I want to eventually create a radar chart to find the outliers in what equates to high revenue on a video. For now, add the columns and scores for each metric in the format provided. And now I can finally send this off after typing in all of this important information to ChatGPT. And just like that, in a matter of 30 seconds, it's added all of these columns with a bunch of scores. And it's showing me some examples right now, so I can scroll over and see if it's doing this correctly. And it's doing a great job so far. It's giving me a view score, an impression score, CTR score, view duration score, title length, and it's giving me a title length score based on the length of my titles. And now after all is said and done, you have everything cleaned in your data. You have additions, changes, manipulations, whatever you want done with your data. What you can ask ChatGPT to do is to create me a downloadable file with the new additions and clean data. So whatever your file is, it can be an Excel file, CSV, whatever it may be, and we can send this off to ChatGPT and it will provide us with that downloadable file. And now it says I've created an Excel file with the cleaned and updated data. You can download it using the link below. And then it says download your cleaned YouTube data. So I'm going to download that file. As you can see, it downloads to my computer. And now I can import it to Google Sheets so I can see the difference within the two. So I'm going to take my cleaned YouTube data and I'm going to upload it right there for import. And it says import file, replace spreadsheet. I'm going to import the data. And this is going to be wonderful that it's done all of this for me. It already looks nicer. I can double click these columns to make them a little bit wider. And this is just great. Instead of having impressions by click-through rate percentage, I'm just going to put CTR just so this column can go down a little bit nicer. I'm going to double click that, beautiful. It's going to keep opening up this data. Now we have all of our scores over here for our videos. As you can see, this is the old file that we uploaded to ChatGPT, and this is the new file. It gives us everything that we asked for. It added so many new columns, I think 7 new columns. And it just looks much nicer than it did before. It's more organized, and now it's ready to be analyzed. This module has been a use case for how you can clean and manipulate your data within ChatGPT's code interpreter. If you're dealing with a lot of CSV files, Excel sheets, Google Sheets, whatever it may be, upload them to ChatGPT, analyze them, look for trends, clean your data, manipulate your data, do whatever you want with it, and ChatGPT will help guide you along the way in your process of doing so. Now that we have this Excel sheet all organized and cleaned, what I want to do is actually analyze the data for trends and see how videos and why videos get more revenue than other videos. We are going to get into that into future modules. Congratulations on finishing the data cleaning module. This one was a very in-depth and uptight module. You know, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of questions, a lot of thinking involved in this module. So I recommend you go into ChatGPT and you give it a shot yourself. You can actually go to this website called Kaggle.com, and they have plenty of data sets that you can download in order to upload to ChatGPT and test out for yourself. As you can see, they have World Population by Country 2023, and you can download this and upload it and start having conversations with ChatGPT about the data. You can search for certain data sets if you'd like. And this is kind of nice just to have in order to get your feet wet when it comes to the code interpreter, because that was my main problem. Is initially I didn't have any data and I'm like, what do I practice code interpreter with? Well, you can use Kaggle.com to get some free data sets in order to practice. I will leave a link to that in the resources down below. With that being said, I will see you within the next module, and great job so far.